Hey everyone, it's good to see all of you. Hope you're all doing well. First of all, thank you so much for tuning into this town hall and listening session today. I sincerely appreciate your interest in these important decisions and your interest in this entire process. Over the past few weeks, it's been really encouraging to me, and I've seen a lot of that. So thank you so much for that. And I want to also thank you for your support and your encouragement and your passion for these ideas and your passion for our school district. Because over the past few weeks, it has really shown. So thank you so much for that. So, as advertised, this is a town hall and listening session. So it's not only a town hall where you can ask questions to me, and I'll certainly try to answer any questions about the reopening plan as best as I can, but I also want to hear your thoughts and your opinions on this whole process, on the reopening process. I want to hear your thoughts and opinions based on that. And that's what that live chat is for. So you can go right into that live chat and type in your questions, type in your opinions. I'll answer your questions, and I'll certainly address your opinions if you have any of those. So I want to address a couple things, and while I'm addressing these first few things in this listening session, please feel free again to go into that live chat and type your opinions and questions because I do want to hear those. Uh, I think that overall, where we are in the country right now, the state that we are at, the time that we are at right now with this whole virus, is this is a critical turning point because right now, you look at all the data, you look at all the facts, you look at clearly laid out everything there, and you look at everything laid out, you will see that we are worse off than we were in March in many ways, not just with cases, but with deaths. And this is a critical time for us to really start getting serious again because we have not gotten serious. We have obviously, as result, and if you look at the graph, we haven't gotten serious. It's time to get serious again. And I think, and I hope that what comes out of this town hall, what comes out of this listening session, is new energy and new passion to really get a grip on this virus again and to move forward as a country, but also a school district, because these times are so critical. So we have a few questions. All right. So, Ryan Rubik, is there going to be a 100 subscriber special when you get there? Yes, there definitely will be a 100 subscriber special. I'm 2 away. I know it's incredible, but yes, there will be a 100 subscriber special. I don't know what that will be yet, but yes, there will be. Thank you. Wait, Ryan, way to start us off on a good mood. Thank you. All right, Jack London. Why is the school district so stupid and not making us stay home and do virtual learning? The CDC is not joking about the numbers and the people. Yes, Jack, I 100% agree with you. One of the things, what I've been, look, I have read the reopening plan. I was at that school board meeting. Ryan was also there as well. And my main criticism of the district is that there's a stark choice for Hamilton families. Right now, the current preliminary plan states you either have to choose 100% in-person learning or 100% virtual learning. And frankly, I don't believe that that is the right approach. I have read the forward education plan. I promise to do that to you all because as the student council president, I should understand these things and I should know what the Wisconsin Department of Education is putting forward. So I went ahead and read that plan, and clearly laid out in that plan is good, decent hybrid models that the school can implement that are logistically, that logistically work and limit exposure, and we can still have some elements of in-person learning, which is critical, and I believe that that is important. And the district decided to not choose any of those models. They did not choose to implement a hybrid model. And one of the things that I will acknowledge too is that the district in the reopening plan, they are very thorough with a number of things. But for a number of things are simply not included in the plan. They're simply not there. One of the things we can discuss, and one of the things I'm sure we'll get into, is one of the things many parents, including myself, I'm not a parent, but I'm a student, many people are calling for a mask mandate. That wasn't implemented. Many people were calling for a social distancing mandate. That wasn't implemented. Many were calling for a hybrid model. Let's rethink this approach. Let's relook at this. And that was even ignored. And as if you see my statement that I've made recently on this whole decision, what you'll see is I said exactly that. Is that I'm very disappointed with that. So yes, I think I appreciate that, Jack, and I understand where you're coming from that, because these are real numbers. These are real people. There's data in science, and frankly, that is being ignored right now. And Calvin, good afternoon. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Tech Helper, I've subscribed. Thank you. All right. So that's it. Yeah. So that's where I'm at with this reopening plan. And I would encourage all of you to go back and refer back to my statement that I have made in what was it? It was at the beginning of this week. I made a statement on that. I would go watch that statement to have you gather some of my thoughts and opinions on that. So that's where I'm at, Jacqueline, and I appreciate that. Thank you. Anybody else have any questions or opinions? And like I said, this isn't just a town hall where you ask questions. You can give me your thoughts. You can give me your opinions on the specific reopening plan, and I can address those opinions. Because I believe that, excuse me, let me give some water. The important thing in my job is to listen and is to respect your opinion, wherever you're at in this process, whether you're for a mask mandate or whether you're against a mask mandate. Whether you're for 100% in-person learning or you're not. That's my job, is to listen to those opinions. So I'll wait for those questions and opinions in the live chat. We've got 3 people here. But again, I so appreciate your help and everything and your interest in this. Does anybody have any questions or opinions that they will be willing to share? We've got 3 people. I advertise this everywhere, but we've only got 3 people, but that's okay. We can make it short. But yeah, I'll just wait for those questions and opinions. Anybody got any questions or opinions whatsoever? Come on. Anyways, does everybody kind of, I'm going to ask this question to you, and you can, go back in the live chat and answer this question. Does everybody feel like they understand where I am at? Where I stand in these issues, where I, stand on that? Does everybody, kind of understand where I'm at? You can go ahead and answer. We have a opinion from the Tech Helper. Okay, the Tech Helper says the virtual learning did not work well for me. I did not learn very much. Yes, and Tech Helper, I would fully agree with you. Is that overall the virtual learning in the spring, and I think we can all acknowledge this, I think there's absolutely no disagreement on this, is that it was an absolute disaster. It was an absolute disaster. It was a catastrophe. And look, what I acknowledge is that this was totally different. None of this had ever been done before. Nobody understood what it took to somehow transfer everything over from in person, everything being done in person in school, all to online now. And I think that was a big, big hurdle for people. And I acknowledge that and understand that it took a lot of work and a lot of time. One of the things that I will say too is that virtual learning, if you choose that option, in the fall will look vastly different than it will in the spring. There will be lessons that you have to attend to. There will be live lessons that you have to go to. Attendance will be taken more strictly, and there's more of a schedule and there's more of a routine versus just kind of, doing it whenever you want it to. So one of the things I will say too is that 100% virtual learning is the safest option during a global pandemic. And I'm not calling for 100% virtual learning. I know some schools have implemented 100% virtual learning and have decided that that is the course they will take fall semester. What I will say too is that there needs to be some element of in-person classes. There needs to be some element. That's why hybrid model works, folks. You go ahead and read that plan. That's what a lot of us are calling for, is a hybrid plan, because it brings in the in-person learning aspect, just not 100% of the time. Because ladies and gentlemen, let's face it, with 80%, 80% of the people in the district saying they want to go back to school without any strings attached, without any mask mandate, without any social distancing mandate, to go back in person. Let's be honest, folks. Let's acknowledge this to ourselves, that it is not going to be safe. It is literally a petri dish for the virus to go out and spread. Literally, it's what it is. No strings attached, folks. That is what it is. It's a petri dish for the virus to spread. So one of the things that I will say is that, yes, virtual learning did not work well in the spring semester. I acknowledge that fully. I am fully in a full agreement with you. And I also will acknowledge that virtual learning is the safest option during a global pandemic, but some elements of in-person classes can be implemented. And so, yes, okay, Ryan has something. The problem with a hybrid system is that it looks good logistically on the surface, is all bullshit from staff, students, and parents that people like my dad have to deal with once it would implement. Yes, Ryan, and I know we've talked about this, is that, look, I am not saying that everything that is put forward will 100% work. And I'm not saying that. Okay, I'm going to keep reading what you're saying, Ryan. Okay. My dad and most of the staff to work hundreds and even thousands of hours at every possible option to make a safe environment for the staff and students this fall. They had to throw out all political views and personal stances of the decision. So it's not just put together quickly or with certain viewpoints. Yes. And Ryan, I am fully with you on that. I fully agree with that. One of the things I've said in that statement is that I acknowledge the hard work it took to put together this plan. I acknowledge that because when I was at that board meeting, we did see all the hard work it took. And there's a lot of thought and a lot of process. And I'm not at all denying that. And for the people who are currently watching right now, I am not denying the hard work it took. Absolutely 100%, I am not doing that. In fact, one of the things I called for in my statement is I wish that some of the details of this plan were released initially to Hamilton families, so we had a clear understanding of the work it took to make and the work it took to put together. And I know, Ryan, and I know your dad has put work into this. I know school administration has put work into this, and I understand that everything is not going to work 100% of the time. I understand that. Nothing is going to work 100% of the time. What I am concerned about, and many Hamilton families are, is that if 80% of the people want to go back to school with no social distancing mandate, no mask mandate, think about it, folks. It's literally a recipe for disaster, and that's what I've said. But yes, and to all those watching, I clearly acknowledge the work that was put into this current plan. What I'm calling for it to be better, to be improved, and to add certain things that are important. Thank you, Ryan. And I know we've talked about this, but thank you very much. Okay, Jack, I'm concerning questions with coronavirus. You can call me later. But I do like cabbage, yes. All right, Tech Helper. I'm happy politics weren't considered in the decisions. Yes, I certainly hope I would hope that politics weren't considered in these decisions. Now, one of the things I do acknowledge is that when it comes to a mask mandate, when it comes to a social distancing mandate, there are politics that play into it. Unfortunately, they do seep in, and they, it has unfortunately become political. A lot of this, and that's very disheartening. Because we know that masks work. We know that social distancing works. We know it slows the spread of the coronavirus. So one of the things I will say is one of the things I'm referring back to the previous statement I made at the beginning of the week is that I hope that district administrators and members of the school board privately acknowledge that these important measures and mandates, such as a social distancing mandate, such as a mask mandate, need to be implemented if we want the safety and security of Hamilton, period. I hope that these things are considered. And one of the things, you'll have my word as the student council president, that I will keep petitioning this and I will keep fighting for this. And I'm not looking for 100% agreement. I'm not looking for that at all. I'm looking to keep you safe and looking and pressuring the district to put the best possible plan forward so we don't have to go back to the fiasco that it was this spring, that we don't have to, see an outbreak in our school and see an outbreak in our community. Because one of the things that I will say, folks, is that the studies show, by and large, that teens do spread the coronavirus just as much as adults, if not more. And I acknowledge that a lot of us probably won't get sick with the virus. A lot of us won't get seriously sick, but we can spread it to our immediate families and those in charge and those around our community. We don't want that. We don't want that at all. So that's where I'm at in this. And you can respond to that in the chat, but that's where I'm at. Jack London, have you got any good deals on custom masks, or should get a Matt Lehner mask? I don't need to put my name on a mask. Just wear a mask. It's safe. It's simple. It keeps you protected. It keeps the virus out. Plain and simple, just like that. Okay, does anybody have any other questions or opinions they'd like to share with me, specifically on the school reopening plan? We've had a good discussion so far about who we feels. Okay, Jack, Tech Helper, do they think they should screen students for high temperature? Yes, I do think, and I believe that's in the plan. I believe that there is temperature screening in the plan. They will screen students for high temperature, and they will isolate them. The only problem is that the only problem is that excuse me, is that nothing really is totally secure in a building, and when it comes to spreading the virus. But yes, I believe that. Okay, this plan is only preliminary. My dad and the staff are still working on what they can change and improve. They are seeing how this disease is spreading and taking all the precautions that the country, state, and county are taking. Yes, and one of the things too, and you'll see in the title, is that this is a preliminary plan, and that is what many people are trying to do. Is that this plan is in the early stages and is being currently formed, and it's currently being adjusted because nobody knows for certain what's going to happen. Right now, things are not looking very good across the country because we're seeing cases rise. We're seeing deaths increase. We're seeing people. We're seeing even in our own state where the cases are increasing. We're seeing things change rapidly, and I want to assure everybody that I am not treating this as a final plan, because it's not. It's not a final plan. I am treating this as a preliminary plan that needs to be improved, and that needs to be, and as things move forward, and as we face new challenges across the country, and we'll see what happens in September, and we'll see what happens moving forward, that these important measures and mandates need to be taken and need to be implemented in the plan. That is simply what we're calling for, and I acknowledge that fully. And thank you, Ryan, letting everybody else know that this is a preliminary plan. I want to emphasize that it's a preliminary plan. Jack London, do you think asking medical questions that can relate to COVID in public is a privacy issue, especially with volunteer staff? The right to privacy is very important. No, I don't think it is a privacy thing, because this is a public health emergency. This is a global pandemic. This is not normal circumstances. This isn't what it was in 2019. This is the year 2020. We are faced with a very, very highly contagious virus that does kill a lot of people. So when it comes to answering questions about COVID, and what comes to the questions in the screening, have you done this and have you done that, is for public safety, is for the safety of the group. And it's not about it's not about privacy, because in these sort of things, when it comes to COVID questions, privacy is irrelevant. Safety is and should be the first priority of any sort of thing when it comes to COVID-19, not privacy. So that's where I stand on that, because it should not be that at all. This is about protecting people. It's about slowing the spread of the disease. We got to put these things aside for a while and focus on defeating this virus. Because unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, if we would have gotten serious back in March, if we would have gotten serious about this back in March, if we would have had a national mask mandate, for example, if we would have understood the science behind this virus, we could have slowed the spread of this virus outright. And I'm not saying every case is preventable. I'm not saying every death was preventable. What I'm simply saying is that there could have been action that there could have been action that should have been taken back in March that could have slowed the spread of this virus outright. It's as simple as that, folks. And unfortunately, we may not be having this conversation right now. I may not be holding this town hall. I may be talking to you about my vision for Hamilton, my plans for Hamilton, what we're going to do to deliver for you next year. We would not be discussing that, unfortunately, right now, if it wasn't for the lack of seriousness in the beginning and the lack of response we had in the beginning. It's as simple as that. Okay, does anybody else have any questions or any opinions? Any at all? I'm willing to hear those. Jack London has a buffering thing by his. I don't know if you see that on your end. My Wi-Fi should be good. Yeah, I'm all set. So does anybody else have any questions or opinions or anything else you guys want to talk about for next year when it comes to events and how this virus has affected our events, has affected things moving forward? Does anybody else have any questions? I'll wait for those. Yeah, I've got a glitch on my end for the comments. Okay, I don't know what that's about. Okay, so anybody else got anything? Anybody, any other questions? Anything else before we end this? So this was a good discussion, and I appreciate hearing from all of you on your thoughts on this. And okay. Yeah, Ryan Rubin. Coming back in person now with all these precautions will almost be safe than before. There'll be sanitizer everywhere. Teachers will be required to wear masks, face shields, gloves, distancing. There's always diseases in school like the flu, and kids that are not and there are kids that are not vaccinated in our school. Okay, I understand that. I understand, and like I said, I've acknowledged this many times before that there's a lot of stuff to this plan that includes all those precautions. But here's the simple thing. We have seen across the country that when we have encouraged masks, and I don't know if this is maybe, an appropriate example for school, and maybe if it's necessarily the same, I'll take the South Dakota Trump event, for example. They encouraged masks. They said you should wear a mask. They were handing out masks at the door, and people were not wearing them. So, and we know the science is clear that masks slow the spread of the virus. That if everyone wear a mask in the country, if 80% of the people in the country wore a mask when going out in public on a regular basis, that we would have this virus under control. We could control the spread of this virus. So the truth is, when you encourage social distancing, when you encourage masks, you can encourage all you want. But the thing is, when you don't mandate mask wearing, and when you don't make it compulsory, and look, I understand there are certain groups where exceptions need to be made. I get that fully. Not everyone can wear a mask. With autism, can't wear a mask. People who have special needs cannot wear a mask, who have certain needs. People who have respiratory issues. The CDC recommends you don't wear a mask if you've got respiratory issues. I understand all of that 100%. And those exceptions need to be granted. 100% need to be granted. But what I don't understand is that when the district can implement a dress code, a very strict dress code, and they can't implement mask wearing during a global pandemic. And by the way, if you look at district rules, if you look at district procedures, what you will see is that the district must do everything it possibly can to slow the spread of, to protect the people, to protect the students and the staff and everything else in Hamilton High School. There's provisions that literally say we must do everything that we possibly can to protect people. So I understand that there are many things that in that plan that are being taken many precautions, and that this year in person is going to look vastly different. But the truth is, it's not necessarily surfaces where the virus lies. It can't survive on surfaces we've found for long periods of time, but it is more of an airborne disease and spreads through your droplets and spreads through, from person to person. If you're not wearing a mask, or if even you're wearing a mask, you still have risk of getting the virus too. And I will, and I again, I acknowledge there's other diseases. I get that, but this is a global pandemic. This is different, and these measures need to be taken because they can be taken. So I think you'd be okay. I think you'd be surprised how many kids will wear masks if they are recommended. Kids want to go back to normal, so I believe that they'll do their part in reducing their spread. I appreciate all that faith. I wish that were the case, but we have seen across the country, that when we encourage masks, even with grown adults, that they have not worn masks. And so we can believe all we want. We can hope that people will do it. But the truth is, even if let's say we have a mask mandate in school, right? We have a mask mandate, we have a social distancing mandate. With 80% capacity in our district schools, ladies and gentlemen, it's just, even with 80% capacity, it's still not safe. That's according to science, that's according to guidelines. 50 I mean, we've got churches, we've got businesses who will only allow a certain capacity. And that's where I stand on that. That's where I feel. And look, again, I will acknowledge, I want things to go back to normal. I want things to return as the way they are. I wish I didn't have to be doing this right now. I could be doing other things. I wish I was, planning your homecoming. I wish I was preparing to go to prom in December, which is frankly right now looking pretty bleak with how things are going in the country. We'll have to see with how a vaccine is. But we can hope all we want. We can hope all they want in doing their part to slow the spread of this virus. But we've got to have some guts here. We've got to have some guts and say, these times are not normal. This is not normal. And returning back to completely normal times will not return things back to normal. In fact, we've seen it with reopenings and with things across the country, that we're getting back into this mindset that we can get back to normal. And we're seeing the virus being spread out of control. And frankly, we're worse off than in March. That's just a simple fact. So Ryan, I appreciate your opinions on this. I know your dad's worked hard on this. I know that I hopes that the people of Hamilton do their part in slowing the spread of this virus, but we need to be more concrete. If we can enforce a dress code, ladies and gentlemen, we can enforce a mask mandate. It's as simple as that. Jack London. Also, are you happy band is done this year? No, I'm disappointed that band is done this year. But look, one of the things that, and I think this is an important example. I'm glad, Jack, that you brought this up. For everybody watching this and who will watch this town hall, this is a very, very, very important example of what happens when you kind of reopen. Band was really the first big club that had held in-person events with large groups. Now, one of the things I will acknowledge, that it being a member of the drumline, or trying out for the drumline, I still haven't gotten results of that yet. But anyways, being a member of the band, we saw that yes, social distancing was implemented, and yes, it's safer outside. But the truth is, I was looking at some of these people. Masks were not, again with the band, masks were not required. But you look at it and you realize just how dangerous it is. And I get they're doing studies on whether instruments, carry your droplets or whatever. There's been some studies that have stated that due to the vibrations that an instrument makes, it holds all the droplets in, because you're putting all the droplets in the vibration, and the vibration makes out sound. It doesn't make out droplets. But anyways, we've kind of seen how that works. And if band is canceled, with kind of the same precautions being taken with temperature checks. And I want to say this too. This is an example of how, if you've got 80% of the people going back to school, if you try to take everybody's temperature coming into school, it literally is a disaster. We've seen an example, and I get it's the first time. I get this is the first time that anybody's ever seriously implemented this. But if we look at what happened, people were getting temperatures of 120 degrees, and people were waiting outside, and it was taking 20 minutes to get people's temperatures. And you can ask all the questions you want. Have you had this? Have you been in contact with this? Do you have any symptoms? Listen, you can answer no to all those questions, and you can say this, but the truth is, you may still have the virus if you answer no to all those questions. You may still have it. You may still have the virus, and you may not even have a fever. So that should be a real teller to all of you of how these things would work in the school. I get things to be more organized, but again, you just look at what the band has done, and it's not. It doesn't work, folks. It doesn't. And like I said, again, the sad thing is I wish we weren't talking about this. I wish we were talking about getting things back to normal and coming out of this pandemic. But we're not even in the middle of the woods yet. We're just starting to go into the brunt of this. I mean, if you look at the charts, if you look at the graphs, we're just starting to get into this pandemic. So unfortunately, because of the actions that many have taken, we're in a worse off place than we are. So, all right. Does anybody else have any questions or opinions? Got a really good discussion going on so far, and I know we've got only a few people, but these few people, and thank you very much for sticking with us, are fueling this discussion. And this discussion will be on YouTube, so you can go watch the full thing and get other people's opinions and all those other sorts of things. So, but thank you guys. All right, anybody else? Any sort of questions, comments, statements, anything like that? Any sort of thing. I'll wait for like a minute or so. I'm gonna, anyways. We're at 32 minutes here. So thank you very much. This has been a very good discussion. Very, very good. And I appreciate everybody who has taken the time to attend this today. Moving forward, I understand this, and I will state this again. I'm not looking for 100% agreement on anything. It's not been my aim. It's not been my goal. I will compromise when I can compromise, but I will also stand by my principles, and I will also stand by the facts. I believe that's what you elected me to do as your student council president, is to represent you and to fight for you. And I believe that through trying to make this preliminary plan better and trying to pressure the district to implement some of these measures and mandates, I am doing just that. And I want to assure all of you that I will continue to do that. Despite what happens this year, despite whatever comes our way, we need to get our game faces on. We need to get serious, and we need to start really actually making a very, very, very significant effort to slow the spread of this very horrible and awful disease. Because literally, future generations depend on us and our actions. They really do. So, folks, we can get through this together, and we can fight this together. Please, folks, we need to fight this together. So, listen, I hope that we can see this virus's end. We'll have to see how how the vaccine goes. So far, there's pretty good results from a vaccine, and I'm very encouraged by that. But let's not use that as an excuse to stop what we're doing right now and return back to normal as if there is no global pandemic existing. It's still out there, and we don't want a community spread at Hamilton. So again, guys, thank you so much. If you have any other questions whatsoever, if anything else comes up that you want to discuss with me, if you want to, call me, if you want to have a discussion with me, I am more than willing to reach out and to talk with you on your concerns and your opinions. That's my job. It's what you elected me to do. And I intend on fulfilling that mandate that you have given me to lead this school and to hopefully lead this school out of this mess and through this crisis so we can all get out on top more prosperous than ever before. Thank you so much, everybody. God bless you all. Please stay safe, wear a mask, socially distance, and because if you do that, we can defeat this virus. Thank you all so much. Take care, and we'll see you all very soon.